Another tightening of the screws, which reduces the possibilities of the Russian authorities and harms those who are responsible for the continuation of Russia's aggressive war. So the EU called the 10th package of sanctions against the Federation. Its European leaders agreed on Friday, February 24th.
The 10th sanctions package is adopted. 121 individuals and entities listed. Significant new import-export restrictions, banning Russian propaganda outlets. We remain united in our determination to dent Russia's war machine. Josep Borrell, EU High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, on Twitter.
The 10th package of sanctions introduces additional bans on the export of critical technologies and manufactured goods. These include electronic specialized vehicles, machine parts, truck and jet engine parts, and construction products that can be used in the military sector.
We will continue to put pressure on Russia and on those supporting it on the battlefield. We will continue going after Putin's cronies, and we will go after those helping Russia to circumvent sanctions or replenish its war arsenal.
For the first time, the list includes 7 Iranian enterprises that produce unmanned aerial vehicles. The Russian military uses them during attacks on Ukraine, including on civilian infrastructure. Also, the EU Council decided to ban the transit of dual-use goods and technologies exported by the EU through Russia in order to avoid circumventing previous sanctions. All this should weaken Putin.
For example, we know he has trouble making cruise missiles because he can't get the microelectronics he needs to help with their guidance systems, so we think it will have an impact. But the second point is that it may take some time. John Kirby, Strategic Communications Coordinator at the US National Security Council, in an interview with the Associated Press.
The total number of sanctioned Russian enterprises associated with the military-industrial complex of the aggressor country already amounts to 506 organizations. The EU also froze the assets of 3 Russian banks.
Together, the EU member states have imposed the most forceful and far-reaching sanctions ever to help Ukraine win the war. The EU stands united with Ukraine and the Ukrainian people. We will keep supporting Ukraine for as long as it takes. From the message of the Swedish presidency of the Council of the EU on Twitter.
The European licenses for broadcasting propaganda channels Russia Today Arabic and Sputnik Arabic, which are controlled by the Russian government, have also been revoked. Those responsible for the deportation of Ukrainian children also fell under the sanctions.
The Netherlands has urged for listing those responsible for the deportation of Ukrainian children, an abhorrent crime. Pleased to find that this sanctions package targets these criminals as well as arms manufacturers and facilitators of sanctions evasion. Wopke Hoekstra, Minister for Foreign Affairs of the Netherlands, on Twitter.
The import of Russian bitumen and synthetic rubber to the EU countries is prohibited. The opportunity for Russian citizens to hold any positions in the management bodies of critical infrastructure facilities and EU organizations is limited.
Today we have committed ourselves to further joint measures. We want to implement them in the EU with the 10th package of sanctions and take the necessary steps. We are trying to make it clear at the international level that Russia stands apart in the world with its aggression against Ukraine.
The new package of EU sanctions against Russia was commented by the President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky.
The 10th EU sanctions package targets Russian military industry, propaganda and financial system. The pressure on Russian aggressor must increase. We expect decisive steps against Rosatom and Russian nuclear industry. More pressure on military and banking. Volodymyr Zelensky, President of Ukraine, on Twitter.
On the eve of the approval of the 10th package of sanctions, an online meeting of the heads of the G7 states with the President of Ukraine took place. Volodymyr Zelensky also thanked the EU leaders for supporting Ukraine's course towards joining the European Union. This is the attitude that has been lacking in European institutions for decades. Reported by Serhiy Kulyas, Natalia Husak, UATV News.